Phil Harris and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible fortnightly podcast, Dream Big, Move Fast.
A progressive, contemporary conversation on what it takes to be a dynamic thinker, leader, and role model.
Backed with over 2 decades of friendship, trials and tribulations that teach from real-world experience and what it takes to dream big, move fast. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky. Phil, this is one of the most phenomenal quotes. I first saw it at a conference when I came into residential real estate. And, Wayne Gretzky was one of the great ice hockey coaches of the world. And he was always about, you got to have a shot at goal if you want to get to goal. And I kind of like that. If you don't ask questions, you don't get answers, right? And if you don't ask, you don't get. It's kind of the shortened version of that. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. What are your thoughts on this and how it might inspire a life where you actually go and chase a few more things that are important to you?
It just basically tells you that, if you don't have a go, then you're not going to ever have a chance of succeeding. So if you relate that back to your real estate career, you need to take on new information, get along to training and get out there and try it and understand that the first time you try to do something in a listing presentation, it might not go well and it might fail, but you'll go away and you'll iterate and you'll learn and you'll get a little bit better, as it might be with your skills, whether it be callbacks or negotiation. Learn, grow, understand that failure is part of the success.
This is one of the awesome, conversations today, because really what we're going to talk about, how to actually really win and how to dominate in business. And I think that this is a subject that not many people really think about, but you can't go timidly in the direction of your dreams. And the most important part is that, you've got to understand that your mindset and the attitude around what you're going to do is really important. And you can develop the mindset and you can actually think that attitude is a skill. So our number one job here is to say, okay, what does it really do? Now, what I know is that, Jim Collins wrote about it in one of his very early books about, being a common enemy versus role model approach. So common enemy approach is, and I think that it was Nike was going against Reebok and Adidas, one of those at the time, and, we want to take them out and we want to see them run out of business. And so everything that they did, they'd copy and they'd try to, price their shoes cheaper and they'd do things to kind of take out that person. And common enemy approach can actually be really fulfilling because you actually really want to take that person out. You want to take that business out. You want to steal their market share. You want to make all those things happen. And a lot of people feed off that negative energy. And the problem with it is that when you actually do successfully take them out, there's no energy all of a sudden in the business because you're left on your own. And so this is about actually saying, well, how do I actually move instead? And not at an ego level, but how do I actually move to becoming a role model around what it is that I do so that other people inside of my organization look to me and say, hey, that person is really good at that. Follow what they do. They're a master at that thing, and they've absolutely dominated because of that. Phil, how important is it to have that understanding about what actually fuels you and the shift in energy from common enemy approach to role model approach and what it can do for your career?
I think I can really relate to both sides of this quote, Josh. I think that earlier when we first started Harris going back 13 years ago, there was certainly a company or two that got under my skin. And so I was very motivated to do what I can to kind of defeat the enemy, for lack of a better terminology. But I think
you had a war room. Is that right?
We'd have a nominated war room. But then when I look back now, I think that it's, as you said, it might drive energy for a while, but I don't think it's ongoing. I don't think it's sustaining. I think it's an immature way to look at business. I don't think it aligns with really who I am as a person now. But I think that ultimately, when we're talking about how to win in business, this is probably of the podcast we've done so far, Josh, this is my favorite one, because I think that how to win in business really aligns with kind of my life philosophy, and I know yours, which is all about becoming the best version of yourself. And so when the goal shifts away from worrying about what other people are doing and focus on how do you actually maximize the talents, the gifts, the opportunities, the resources that you've got, rather than defeating others, but becoming the best version of yourself and saying, hey, it's not about competing and defeating others. I'm going to be the best version of myself, and I'm now going to become a role model within my chosen profession, whatever that might be. I think that becomes rare air because there's not many people who are really on that journey, Josh, and we've spoken about that. There's not many people that I actually meet that say, you know what, all of my chips are in. I'm actually all in on this game of life, which is I want to become the best father I can be, the best partner, the best spouse, the best business owner, the best real estate agent. I want to get my health, my fitness, my finance, there's not many people that are going to say, I'm all in for life of what I want to do. And that's what I think what this actually talks about. Don't worry about anybody else. Worry about what you control and go all in on that.
Why do you think people don't go all in? Are they afraid?
I think, I think,
scared?
I think a lot of it is afraid. Like what if
ego?
what if I go all in and it's not good enough? I know when an example being, sometimes I look at Nick Kyrgios, one of the most talented tennis players on the planet, and it's like, is there this reluctance for someone like that to say, I'm just a bit scared to go all in because everybody tells me how talented and how good I am, where it's much easier to just say, I don't really care, I'm not really that interested, because if I did go all in and I didn't start winning Grand Slams, maybe that would be an indication I'm not good enough. So, yeah, there is a bit of fear.
So fear, false evidence appearing real. So I have a ton of misconceptions about why I can't do what you do, but I've never tried to do it.
Yeah.
And the interesting conversation is that, like, all of those fears, you've actually built like a series of capabilities now that actually allows you to jump over that fear very quickly. So if I said to you, okay, great, Phil, you're going to go and acquire a property management business, that's a skill set now that you now have. You didn't have that 10 years ago, right? And so this is that whole conversation around really cracking what we're going to go and call a formula for growth. Now, I'm going to say something to you, Phil, and go with me on this, but I don't know if you know, but I'm actually unbelievable at making pancakes. Okay, so what I do is I get a cup of flour, a cup of milk, and I get an egg. And I get a bowl and I put the flour in it, and I add the egg and I add the milk, and then I stir it like really quickly with the beater or whatever. And I get it to a nice smooth consistency, and then I can go and put that batter into the fridge for 20 minutes. Then I heat up the fry pan, and what I do with the fry pan is I then put the butter into the fry pan. I wait until that's kind of smoking, and then after that I then get literally the soup ladle and I ladle out the pancake mixture. And I let it do its thing for like 4 minutes, and then I put the little flipper on it and I flip it, and on the other side it's only a minute, and then every pancake after that is a minute either side because I've got the pan to ultimate cooking temperature. Now, if I do that, I absolutely nail it with pancakes. And the other day I was like, I don't want to follow this anymore. So you know what I did, Phil? I just decided that I was just going to put the milk and the egg into the fry pan. And I did it. I left it in there for 4 minutes, and I took it off, and then I put that on the plate, and then I added the flour. Turns out I didn't get pancakes. And it's a deep metaphor, I think, for understanding the formula for your success, the formula that you're going to go all in on, and replicate that formula and amplify it and do more of it, because if you follow the recipes for success, you get the outcome. You keep messing with the recipe, man, you don't get pancakes. What are your thoughts here about cracking that formula for growth and understanding that in, from a business context, whether or not we're a property manager, a salesperson, a sales leader, a director, an owner of a franchise, whatever it is, what actually is about how you develop a formula and how you amplify it, how you run with it. What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I don't doubt that you're great at cooking pancakes, Josh. If it's process driven, there's probably no doubt at all. In fact, I actually cooked you a steak last night, so I hopefully
which was perfect.
My process was pretty good there last night as well.
It was the best steak I've ever had.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The process was good. So yeah, there is grand cracking and taking it one step back as well. He said,
Did you give a tip to the Uber driver for the Uber Eats?
No, it wasn't Uber, I promise. Taking a step back is what prohibits or precludes people from going all in. I also think there's a little bit of mental reframe work there as well, Josh, which is people's definition of success is always comparison to others versus forgetting others and actually focusing on maximising yourself rather than worrying about what other people's results are. But coming back to the topic there of cracking the formula for growth, like the reality is, and we're talking about real estate here today, that we know that there is a formula for what it takes to be a successful real estate agent. So if I speak through the lens of just being a salesperson right now, I'm pretty sure, Josh, that if you get a good night's sleep, if we aim for somewhere close to 8 hours, and if you wake up feeling fresh and you get some exercise under your belt, you eat a healthy breakfast, then if you can come into the office pretty early, somewhere between 7:30 and 8 with a clear line of sight and a fresh head, and you have a meeting with yourself with an agenda of what needs to be covered for the day, and then if you jump on the phone and speak with the vendors first thing in the morning, just give them a quick daily update on what's actually occurring on their property for that particular point in time. And then if we jump on the phone and do a minimum of 2 45-minute call sessions before midday, preferably 3 if we can. And then that afternoon, if we can get face-to-face with 4 or 5 people in the process of saying yes to a real estate decision, be that buying or selling, if we can rinse and repeat that 5 days per week, we know you're going to end up in one of the top 1% of probably income earners in this country for real estate. Like, that's a formula that we know works. So maybe I'll flip the question back on you. If we know that that's the formula and you fly around this country and overseas all day, every day, telling people and teaching people that formula, why is it that we resist tuning into that formula, Josh?
A complete lack of desire and commitment.
Right.
So like if I'm committed towards doing something, I'm going to find a way. And that commitment is a really important part because I've got to have a look at where are all the areas in my life that I need courage. I'm afraid about these things, Phil. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to walk into a lounge room and list a $3 million house. I don't know how to handle a fee objection or how to sell marketing. So marketing has to be included in the fee. All of these fears. And then what I say is, okay, great. But Phil, can you teach me some capabilities? Or Josh, this is what you do when you're selling marketing. You first of all mention a campaign at $36,000. So then when you mention one at $9,000, it makes the $9,000 one sound cheaper. And then you call it a large, medium, and small. And then you put the word most popular above the medium one. And then you make it clear that in the small one, it doesn't have video or the digital technology around t-shirts, so that listing follows you everywhere you go on social. And that's how you do it. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, wow, there's actually just a system that's missing. But I would say to you that, and it is that whole kind of idea that sometimes people need an event to occur to them before they make the decision to go all in and think about it. And, how much time is wasted in wasted energy, wasted effort, displacement, misalignment, because you're getting distracted by the 5,000 notifications going off in your mobile phone that someone uploaded a video to TikTok or something's actually happened inside of Instagram, rather than you actually saying, hey, is this really going to help me to where I want to go? And I think if you are not clear about where you want to go, every route's going to be an opportunity. But if we're going to go and climb Everest, Phil, there's probably only one or two routes to actually climb Everest. And we're going to need a Sherpa, and we're going to need somebody who's really good and somebody who's done it before. And we need to have a medical expert. We need to have a social media expert. We need to have a funding expert. We need to have an oxygen expert. We need to have somebody who's an ice climbing expert to actually go and do those things with us for you and I as amateurs to get to the top of that mountain.
So if we know that the formula, Josh, for success in real estate we just spoke about, which is those 4 or 5 key things, rinse and repeat each and every single day.
Yeah.
There's the person tuning in that actually has already heard that 5 times, 10 times, 100 times in a training room.
Yeah.
Is there different sorts of training that we need to do to actually help that person with their own internal behavioural issues to say, what is it? That's what I'm more focused on now, Josh, with people that I'm working with. Like if I said to the person that I'm coaching on a daily basis, I say, well, hang on, let's reverse seats here. Actually, you stand up in front of the whiteboard. Yeah. Here's a whiteboard marker.
Show me your formula.
You show me how you think you could be successful. 9 times out of 10, they know what needs to be done, right? So I'm more wanting to focus on what are the blockers that are actually stopping you from what you've just written on that whiteboard. Let's talk about those.
So Mang Yang Wing, she came up with a quote. She said, to know and not to do is to not know at all. And I started to think, wow, she's got some wisdom, right? And you start thinking a little bit about it. Okay, great, but knowing is mastery. So if you think about, okay, let's take the listing presentation skill, because you and I started out on that. Man, we beat ourselves up. We listened to it, we recorded it, we played it back, we listened to it, recorded it, we played it back.
It was pretty brutal too.
Yeah, and like your feedback was horrendous, right? But it was good. You know? Tough love, I think you called it. But the basic idea is that you start saying, okay, most people, oh no, I don't want to record myself. Oh why? Oh no, I don't sound that good on audio. I record a video. Oh, I don't look good on video. You don't look any better in real life. But that basic conversation of what you realize very quickly is that if you are not prepared for self-assessment and if you are not in a position that you're open to coaching, then how are you planning on getting better?
That's almost what I'm hearing from you straight away, Josh, is like, it's like that. It's the insecurity that's getting in the way of the growth because you're too worried about, I'm
too young, I'm too old.
Yeah, I'm not good enough. Well, the only way you're going to get better is we've got to deal through, yes, you aren't great right now, but let's actually deal with it and work on it and get you to a level where you can actually look back. And I always say to people, like, stop focusing on, you're not where you want to be, but thank God you're not where you were. Like focus on the improvement gap, not kind of. And I think that this is the whole conversation, is that what you're actually trying to do is to say, okay, like, so how did I build this, Phil? I got no idea. But I do know that I was like a dog at a bone, and like literally you give me an opportunity, I'd chase it. And if there was an opportunity, I'd create it. And it was interesting because one of my great mentors and a very good client and a very good friend of mine, Nick Dowling with the CEO of Jealous Craig in Melbourne, he took me out for a lunch very early on in my work with Jealous Craig, and he said, "Oh, Josh, I just want to spend half an hour with you, and I'm just going to do something that I think most people may not have done for you." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "I'm just going to tell you what actually makes you great. It's not an ego pump up tire session or any of those things. I was going to tell you what makes you great." He goes, "My observation of you of what makes you great is that you'll ask questions of people that no one else would ask." I was like, "Oh, give me an experience." He goes, "You're doing a conference in Tokyo and you want to get someone on process improvement, and you read a book called One White Face by Hillary Corner, which is all about process improvement and what they did with Toyota, and you pick up the phone and you ring the author and you say, 'Hey, do you want to fly to Tokyo and speak at an event for me?' You know that there's a great guy on ADHD and ADD, a guy named Dr. Edward Hallowell, who wrote a book called Crazy Busy. You're now doing a conference in Seattle, and you just pick up the phone and you ring up Dr. Edward Hallowell and you say, 'Hey, man, do you want to come and speak for me?'" He goes, "Not many people think that you can just pick up the phone and go and ring the author. Take action, yeah.
And he said that, and this is what you've got to start to realize, if you now know that that is actually a skill, My suggestion to you is to amplify that. And I was like, wow, I never really thought about that. I just didn't think that people were different. I'm like, okay, well, that guy's obviously really good at what he does. I don't know how you make money after you've written your book. Maybe he wants to come and speak at a gig. I'm just going to ring him. And that's where I think that, like, literally when you start to think about cracking the formula for growth, it's going all in. So let's get really clear about it. Number one, you've got to have a goal. Goal's got to be really clear. Okay, if you want to crack the growth formula and you're currently at 4 listings a month and you want to take that to 6 listings or 8 listings a month, let's go to 8. Okay, great. What does that look like? I've got to make sure I've got clear measurement so I can adjust quickly. Most people wait to the end of the month till they adjust. The worst, wait till they get their actual tax result and then they adjust. It's like, no. You got to adjust in the moment. So what I say, okay, great, you want 8 listings. You got to get 2 by day 7. You got to get 4 by day 14. You got to get 6 by day 21. Then you hit 8 listings at day 28. And what we've worked really clearly in the formula is that if you get to the 27th day of the month and you've got 0 listings, the alarm didn't go off early enough. If you're in a position that you're at day 3 and it doesn't look like you're going to be on track to get you 2, that's when you ring the coach, man, or you talk to your director and say, I need help here, Phil. Who do I call? And Phil goes, mate, ring all the people over the age of 55 who can put $300,000 into their superannuation. You know what? Ring every market appraisal you did last year because all of those appraisals are now wrong. You know what? Why don't you ring every past client for annual checkups? Why don't we ring everyone who bought in 2016? Because if they sold today, they'd be doing really well in terms of their capital growth.
I think, Josh, what I like where you're going into there is like it's one thing to say I want to list 8 properties for the month, which is great to have that high-level KPI. But it seems like that next level of mastery, what you and I have observed from the best operators in the country, it's not only do I want 8 listings for the month, but I actually can break it down and go, here's where I'm going to get my 8 listings from. So there's actually an identification of I am going to have I'm going to focus on 2 past clients. I'm going to focus on my referral list. I'm going to go in and work with my buyers, sellers, or it's going to come from a core market of actually understanding where you're going to tap in and actually generate those listings from, and then actually have some dedicated strategy that you're working on a daily basis of tapping in on those.
And the thing is that then there's a complete miss in what it is that you're doing because, hang on a second, whoa. The best don't just build a big database. And I don't know, maybe you feel that you can let me in on it, but is there a thing in the industry called build a big database and do nothing with it? Because I've got a lot of people that got big databases and they cannot lie, but they got no results. And I'm like...
Not only do nothing with it, but then be violently aggressive if somebody challenges about taking one of those contacts.
Yeah. And like send an email to the sales manager. Yeah. So what I actually say to people is that, whoa, hang on a second, okay. So I'm a relationship guy, okay? And what I was taught is that like, okay, you have 40 minutes to be able to create an opportunity, else you're out of the business. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to get a pad and a pen. I'm going to write down 1 to 10. And I'm going to write down 10 people that I should call that I fundamentally know that if I ring one of those, I'm going to be able to create an opportunity. So builders, developers, person I know that needs to buy, someone who's having a baby, do the Harrises need a bigger house now with that extra? So you start thinking about that stuff or, and that's really where you create opportunity. So how well do you know? So what I say to people, okay, great. I'm now, like we live in a digital world, but things get lost. People put things into a database and next week they have to ring up the SES to come and do a search and rescue to try to find the contact they put in there last week. So that's not good databasing. So what it is, regardless of the digital tools, what are the things that you need in the physical world that are going to help you to be at your absolute best? So I'm going to argue, I want a printed list of every market appraisal you've ever done in your career, and I want you to read over that list every Friday for an hour. And you read over that list and you go, I haven't spoken to them for a while, I haven't spoken to them, I saw them at Bunnings, geez, I should ring them. And you're hot spotting through that list. And whilst it seems fractured, it's actually a really good thing to do because like you have a look at Alexander Phillips in his business, 726 or something, market appraisals last year and 269 listed, there's like 500 left over. I'm like, well, what are you going to do with them, man? And so like literally, so he starts ringing through that and then, 10% of them convert, there's 50 deals. And so that's what you've got to start to really realize. And so I would say to you, okay, what are the foundational lists that you need to have? You need to have a list of every market appraisal that you've ever done in your career. You also need to have an active list of what I go to call buyers, sellers. So who are people that foundationally that I know, if I find them a house to buy, that they will sell their house. It's that simple. So they absolutely have to do that. Who are my most urgent buyers? So someone who sold with a competitor last week that is now homeless unless they do a transaction. So I say to sellers, hey, would it be okay if I bring some homeless people through your place? Right. And so you start working through with that. And then in addition to that, I actually want to make sure I've got a great list of past clients because it builds and builds and builds. And if you do 30 deals a year and you do that over 10 years, you've now got 300 past clients. And if 10% of them sell, so 1 in every 10 years sell, you should be getting 30 listings a year just from your past clients if you have the right strategy in play. So what you got to realize, the way that you prospected most likely in year 1 of real estate is not necessarily the way that you're going to be prospecting in year 10, but there might be people that are now joining your team that are doing some of the things that you did in year 1, year 2, year 3 that are doing those functions really well to get it nailed. So we were taught, the basic idea in terms of mastery was 10, 10, 20. So I get a listing, and now my goal is that I actually want to get the 10 houses either side and the 20 across the street, and I want those neighbours to walk through that open. And so this is what Just Listed was about. What Just Listed has morphed into is a mini ad for the property on a DL that often doesn't have an open time, that often doesn't have a QR code, that often isn't an invitation, but a beautiful photo of the house and the dot points and the number of bed, bath, car, and a beautiful shiny image of the agent and the mobile number. But we've lost the purpose of the document. Now, what we were taught in the really old school days is that on Thursday, we door knock, and in the afternoon at 4 o'clock when mums and dads are homes with kids, hello, my name is Josh. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm one of the local real estate agents. I just want to let you know, number 10 is going to be available. It's going to be open on Saturday at 10 o'clock. It's for sale. They're asking $1 million. We'd love to have you there. Here's a copy of the brochure, sir. I was just wondering, and I don't want to ever interrupt you again, would it be okay if I just quickly send you an SMS and let you know when it sells and what it makes? That'd be great. And who should I make that to the attention of? First name and surname, excellent. And I might just get your email address if it's okay. I might email it as well. Okay, great. Thank you. And hey, by the way, we'd love to see you there at 10 o'clock. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And then we leave and we write the address down. Now we've got the database detail. And then what do we do? And on Fridays, we do a reminder DL that goes in, or letter or whatever that goes into the letterbox. And then on Saturday, because we've got the mobile numbers, we SMS all those people. Hi, Phil. Number 10's available today at 10 o'clock. Love to see you there if you get the chance. And then I get that list of people there, so that if I'm working the open with my team, they'll say, hey guys, that Phil Harris guy has turned up. He's the rich guy with the tennis court, so we stay focused on working that, because now we're thinking about recency and frequency. So we recently seen him, now we're frequently being involved with this guy over the course of a 72-hour period. And then what we then do is we then do I invite to the auction, and then what we then do is that then when the property sells, ideally before the sold sticker goes up, we get on the phone and we ring. Hey Phil, it's Josh. Thought I'd give you a quick call. Number 16 has just been sold in the street. It made $1 million. Quick question, and there's two options here. What does that mean your place is worth? Or, hey Phil, we've got 2 buyers that are left over on that one. What should I do with them? And I just hang. So what should I do with them? And Phil's going to say, oh, don't bring them through my place, I'm not selling. Or, oh mate, bring them over. Or, hey man, we're not selling, but I heard 38 is because they've got a really messy divorce. And so that's one little basic that I'm probably not going to do in my 10th year. But if I have someone in my team, they're going to fulfill that function. So start to understand where your areas of excellence are and go there. But it doesn't mean that great lead sources can't be worked by specific team members that have a functional role to get those 40 neighbours to the open.
And what I'm hearing from you, Josh, is just absolute laser clarity of strategy. So I think that, we talk about lead generation for agents, which, by the way, is probably, as we said, number one skill. If you can generate leads, you have a great career in real estate. But there's too many agents, Josh. We would say, there's probably 10, 15 different lead generation strategies. It seems that a lot of agents try to do a little bit of everything versus if they really got dialed in on those 4 or 5 key things that you spoke about. So if every time we did list a property, we just followed this exact process. Every single time I sell a property, so I've got a vendor and a purchaser that I've transacted with before, here's the exact process that I follow every single year with those particular people. With buyer sellers, here's my buyer seller program. But I think it might have been you, Josh, that coined the phrase a fit database, not a fat database. I think true. I heard you speak about that. I didn't know.
Then we got a fat shaming.
Appropriate, yeah, you got fat shamed. But it is so true, right? Fewer people, better reasons. That's got to be your strategy around data. Of making sure that before you go searching for thousands and thousands and thousands, which, by the way, it's being reinforced now. It's all about how many followers you've got and all of this sort of stuff, where the reality is, it doesn't matter how many followers you've got. It's how many people actually know who you are, who you've actually got a relationship with, who you're in contact with on a regular basis. And so that'd be kind of some of the key things I'm thinking with data is clarity over strategy, and fit, not fat, and purpose of communication.
So I love that. We're going to hook onto that word. What's the purpose of what you're about to do? The purpose of justice is not to get the DLs out so that Phil is not cross with you that he finds the DLs in the backseat of your car. Yeah. The purpose of the justice of DLs is a part of a process to get those 40 neighbours to that open. And in declining markets, that's awesome because it drives the perception of buyer activity. In rising markets, it's awesome because you're always building data to actually really get that core concentration of being awesome at what you do. Now, I kind of want to go here, and it's like, Phil, what is the purpose of a sales meeting?
Well, it depends who you ask, right? Yeah, it depends who you ask. I mean, from my perspective, sales meetings for me, I only really have 2 or 3 core things that I want to achieve out of sales meetings. So first and foremost is I want to inspire. That I feel like that's my number one role at Harris Real Estate, is inspiring the team. So what is it that we're focusing on? What is it that we're achieving? What can I do to actually inspire and motivate the team to do more? So number 1 is inspire. Number 2 is recognize. Right, so I'm big on recognition. That's a key part of any sales team, is actually recognizing and acknowledging people that are doing well, either individually or as a team. And then final part of that third one for me is really information. Right, is updating them with information. It might be on mortgage rates, it might be on sales skills, it might be something that they need that can actually help them to go out there into the marketplace and win. Now, there are some other tangible things we're about to go through, but ultimately for me, they're the big 3 for me when it comes to a sales meeting.
I've been in some sales meetings, and I swear the purpose is to make it a depression session. It's like, whoa. So the energy that we bring is important. So I'm going to share with you a sample agenda of a sales meeting.
Sorry, Josh, can I be really controversial as well? Like in our organisation, like we don't do sales meetings weekly. Right? And I know that maybe there is a marketplace where that still works for people. But
size of team is also an impact.
Size of team, and then I'm not saying that it's definitely like a no, depends on your marketplace. But I think we do need to think about how the world has changed and the market has changed. But getting your team together for 2 or 3 hours on a Monday morning or a Tuesday morning, which is prime prospecting time. But we have people in our organisation that are, writing, $1 to $2.5 million a year in fees. Like we can't take 90 minutes out of their day on a weekly basis to sit there and hear about a property that, Jenny's listed out the back blocks of Burke that's a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, cream brick, terracotta roof tile, right? So
I didn't know you guys were in Burke. That's great. So sales meeting agenda, it goes for 32 minutes. First minute, we talk about the values. The 3 values at Harris Real Estate are...
mission, purpose, think like a customer, grow as a leader, work as a team.
Okay, great. So we just got to do those things. So we talk about who's lived out some of those values really well. Second one, good news.
Yeah.
So congratulations, this person's got their first listing today. Hey, that's a great record sale for that person. This person here has done some great work and really picked up lots of market appraisals, and that person's really growing their data set. So we're recognizing great work that's happening in the organization, not just the top GCI writer. Next one, need to know. Usually is there government changes, some policy changes, or anything happening in market? Are there some things that are important that people might need to know? That goes for 3 minutes. I should say that. So values are 1 minute, good news is 2 minutes, need to know is for 3 minutes, new listings this week for 5 minutes. So what's some of the new stock that we've got come on? And what I want you to know is, do you have a buyer-seller that would buy that and naturally has to sell theirs? So I want you to go through your buyer-seller list as you're seeing some of that new stock come up. Next one, that forthcoming auctions. So what have we got on? Where are they at? Do they look like they're going to land? Then after that, sales this week. So we've just sold that one. Are there any leftover buyers? Well, there was, because 20 buyers walked through the property, and 3 of them have either tried to make offers and bid. 1 was successful. So there's 2 people that we know definitely have pre-approval and need to buy. What are we cross-selling them onto? Well, I've got that market appraisal they could go and have a look at. Okay, great. So we start working on that. Next one after that, prospecting this week for 3 minutes. So where are the opportunities? Okay, guys, we're going to go with the over 55s. We're going to go with people that need to do it in that tax year, whatever. We're going to chase that. Appointment number review. So let's have a quick look about how the appointment numbers have gone and what's actually happening for buyer appointments, market appraisals, listing appointments. And what your sales manager or leader is trying to do is to spot people that haven't got market appraisals. Phil, I noticed you've got no market appraisals this week. Oh, mate, I was on holidays. Oh, of course. So that makes sense. Oh, well, mate, I just had a bad week. Okay, cool, man. Let's have a chat after. Let's get you some good call lists and get your energy back up to where it needs to be. And then after that, maybe deal support. So we're going to choose 1 or 2 properties and say, guys, what would we need to do to reposition this asset, remarket, reprice, do some deal support? How would we get some buyers there? How could everyone get focused on that and kind of bring it together? 32 minutes, nails it. It's not 3 hours. It's very clear, very focused. People have got the agenda, so then they can attend her. And as we finish today, we're going to talk about the principle. Make sure that your marketplace is big enough for your aspirations. Phil, this was very early on an amazing lady that we still get the opportunity to work with today, Billy Kerrisk. And, this is going back maybe 12 or 13 years ago, and she wanted to write aspiration $1 million in fees. And we couldn't quite get there, and we were doing a bit of it. And I asked her about the size of her market, and we hadn't really done that before, so we started working it. And we worked out that in order for her to write $1 million in beautiful Golden Bay, New Zealand, at that time, she just needed to have 250% market share. So, do you want to talk to us a little bit about this? Making sure your marketplace is big enough for those aspirations.
I mean, clearly, before we set out on the adventure, it's great to have aspirations, but is the actual marketplace, is it actually capable? Does it have the actual turnover and volume and commission available? So a little bit of DD before we actually kick that off. But as we come to closure here, I think that today has been some really great things that have come out of it. Particularly love the conversation around the high performance of what it is that people need to be focusing on to actually, I think what you said up front, Josh, is the biggest thing I often say about actually just zero in and focus on amplify on what actually works. What is it that you need to succeed? So coming back to that quote here, what is your marketplace? Have clear definition of goals of what it is that you need to achieve. Understand the key levers in your business that you need to amplify. And once you know what they are, get after it each and every single day.
And I was thinking about this, like, get really clear. What is the purpose of what I'm about to do? And am I really achieving the objective in the way that I'm executing it? And where are the intricacies, whether it's an insight or a perspective, where I might change a word and it drives my performance? And it makes me think, Julie Gorsey, one of our great clients, she used to work at McDonald's, and she said that at Macca's they would say, "Welcome to McDonald's, may I take your order, please?" They weren't trained to say, "Oh, look, I don't really do scripts and dialogues. It's not really my thing. I don't really use I just make it up as I go. I tell a bit more of a story. You know, like I'm not my style. That. It's not my style. Oh, that wouldn't work in Adelaide. You know, like they don't go and say, "I'll just do whatever you want." Hey, welcome to Macca's. How you doing? Want some chippies? Like you know, and so what they did is that they learnt language. And so what she said to me, she goes, "Okay, great. So why is it that someone thinks that they can just make it up? Like until you're writing a million, follow the dialogue, man, because it's going to cut to the chase." So I went with Alex, and I went to a couple of his open for inspections, and he's like, "Oh man, it feels like Department of Fair Trading's turned up." So I turned up there, and I noticed that this question kept on firing out at the opens. "Oh, Phil, lovely to see you here today. Hey man," and he's more colloquial, having the chat as you're walking through the house. "Man, quick question, why this one?" And you go, "Oh man, I really love the high span garage and it's really important for my four-wheel drive and blah, blah, blah." "Okay, great. And why now?" "Oh, well, we've had another baby and we need a bit more space and blah, blah, blah." And Alex, in two literally simple questions and 5 words, has just found out what attracted you to this house. Okay, why would you buy it and pay more for it? And secondary thing, what's driving the motivation? And he did that in 5 words. And the amateur goes, "Oh, it doesn't work." Well, I just watched it work, man. And the interesting conversation is that delivery makes a huge difference. Why this one, Hiffle? Why now? Whoa. You know, so you got to start to actually understand. You got to trial it. You got to test it. You got to work with it. It is possible to dominate in business when you know why you do what you do and you execute with perfection. Feeling good and ready for more? Thanks for joining us
On Dream Big,
Move Fast.